We are back with some big breaking news in the sports world. It's been talked about, and now it has finally happened. Jimmy Butler traded from the Miami Heat a day before the NBA trading deadline. This is huge news. Jim Barry along with Mike Cugno. And Mike, this seemed inevitable. It has finally happened. Where is he going, and who are the Heat getting?
19 hours before the trade deadline expired, he's going to Golden State. This was a team recently we thought he had taken off his list in terms of where he wanted to go. But according to ESPN, he's heading to Golden State in what is a 5-team deal. It took 5 teams to move Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy heads to Golden State. There were a lot of players on the move, some draft picks on the move. Miami ends up with a first-round draft pick, Andrew Wiggins, and the return of P.J. Tucker, who many fans remember was once on the Heat at one point in time.
Absolutely. P.J. Tucker was part of the team that made a nice deep run, and then he took a little bit more money and went elsewhere, and now he's back, and he brings some toughness to the roster. Yeah. So Jimmy Butler gone. How will we have the epitaph for the Jimmy Butler era?
Well, you got to remember the good times for sure in this one. 2 finals runs is nothing to sneeze at. The sad thing is he could have been one of those guys who would have been up in the rafters for sure had this ended a little bit differently. But listen, Miami, you have a lot to look forward to. I say don't dwell on this era of this Jimmy Butler 2-month saga of trying to get him moved. Bam Adebayo's playing great right now. Tyler Hero's finally an all-star. Andrew Wiggins, you're going to have him under contract, unless they decide to move him as well at some point. Again, this is all pretty fluid. You're going to have him under contract for the next 2 seasons after this one. P.J. Tucker is an expiring deal, so this does give the Heat some flexibility. I do want to mention that, according to that report from ESPN, Jimmy Butler also signed a $121 million 2-year extension with Golden State. So now they're going to be really competitive again out west. Miami, they're going to be up and down. We'll see if they can figure it out, but it should be a fun young team to watch.
What's going to be interesting, I think, the fallout from this, because Pat Riley was getting some blowback from former NBA players who were saying maybe he's not the Pat Riley he used to be, and maybe the Miami Heat culture isn't what it used to be.
This is going to be a bigger discussion at the end of this and maybe at the end of the season about player empowerment and how much power the players have had. And was Pat Riley maybe one to kind of step in and say, no, listen, these contracts, they go 2 ways. You have to be committed to the deal you signed, just like we have to be committed to the deal that we gave you, right? And so when you look at this and the whole Heat culture thing, I think I give Pat Riley credit for saying we're going to try to move you. That way you're no longer a distraction here. Yes, you wanted to get out. We'll give you that, but we're not going to let you drag this season down.
Yeah. Did this go sour the minute that Pat Riley called Jimmy Butler out for saying, you know what, if I had been playing, we would have beaten some of those other playoff teams? Probably,
yeah. I mean, calling Jimmy out at the end of the day probably had a big reason in all this for why Jimmy wanted to leave. It's not every day, again, player empowerment, where you see a player get called out in the media by their team president, and the way he responded was not the way Tyler Hero responded to criticism. Because remember, Pat Riley called Tyler Hero out saying he was fragile, and all Tyler did was got in shape and brought himself to a all-star level where he's playing games. Jimmy Butler was missing about 20 games a season with the Miami Heat. When you're making that kind of money, there was a $52 million player option on the line this summer for Jimmy Butler. You don't want to pay someone who's going to miss a quarter of the season.
Yeah. Jimmy Butler certainly epitomized what the Heat was all about when he arrived, and we thought this might be a marriage made in heaven. And as you mentioned, we thought maybe his name and jersey would be in the rafters, because Jimmy Butler is an old school player, and you know the Heat like that. They like that toughness. I admired the fact that he was a guy who played offense and defense. He wasn't a guy who really bought into just running up and down the court, jacking up threes. And so I respect him for that. But the fact that Jimmy Butler, I think people are going to say that he, in effect, quit on his team, that's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of folks' mouths.
Yeah, this is something you and I have talked about a lot. We both loved the type of player he was. It was very much a throwback to like the Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway days. So yeah, it is going to leave a sour taste, the fact that he, quote unquote, quit. I think we could probably drop that. He did. When you walk out into practice, when you don't show up for a team flight, you've essentially quit on this team. And that's why you have to move on from him. And unfortunately, people will remember that as much as they probably will remember those 2 final runs.
All right, so again, the big breaking news, Jimmy Butler traded from the Miami Heat to Golden State. We will have much more on this huge breaking news coming up tonight on CBS News Miami on CW33 at 10 p.m. and, of course, on CBS News Miami at 11. For Mike Cugno, I'm Jim Berry. We'll see you soon.